Do you use a tracking app to track your menstrual cycle? Have you been fearful about using an electronic tracking app to track your cycle? Join me this week as I sit down with co-founder Anna Hall and we talk about her new app, Embody, that encrypts your data and provides you with a wealth of cycle-related information that you can't find anywhere else. Hi, I'm Adrienne Irizarry. I'm an East Asian medicine practitioner who is passionate about women's health and helping women to live their best lives. My goal is to put you in the driver's seat of your health, offering holistic solutions for a symptom-free life. Statements made in this program are for educational purposes only and not intended as a substitution for medical consultation or advice. We do not claim to diagnose, treat, or cure any diseases. This podcast is inclusive and welcomes all gender identities. The focus of the program is on biological function, and we will use the term women throughout, but it is referencing physiological and social challenges for biology, not identity. Come as you are, I am happy you're here and welcome all performances of identity. I hope you find something helpful in this show. Welcome back to another episode of the Reproductive Rebel podcast. I have been so looking forward to this conversation because this is information that women everywhere need to know. I am joined today by the incredible Anna Hall, who is the co-founder of the Embodied app. Welcome to the show, Anna.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here and to talk to the people who listen to your podcast, which I love. It's wonderful.
Oh, thank you so much. So, Anna, I would love if you could share with people who you are and what brought you to the work that you do.
Awesome. Yes. So I kind of came to tech in a roundabout way. My history is born and raised in Atlanta. I was a special education teacher for almost 10 years in the public school systems in both the Metro Atlanta area and then in the San Francisco Bay Area for a while. And I focused on teaching people with complex disabilities how to use high-tech devices for communication, which was just so fun. And I loved it. Moved out to the Bay Area with my partner who has startups and did the whole startup thing out in the Bay, which is really fun. And then the plan was always to bring it back to Atlanta. So we came back to Atlanta. By then I had a baby and another one on the way. COVID hit. And so I resigned from my teaching position. And at the same time, I was diagnosed with PMDD. And I had never heard of premenstrual dysphoric disorder before. And so I went on this deep dive because it felt so validating. I was like, oh, yes, this is me. What it felt like if I would have a week where I felt like myself, young, tired mom, but pleased with life for the most part. And then the next week, things are kind of darkened. And then the following week, everything just kind of fell apart and I couldn't really function. And then the following week, I would feel good again, but I was scrambling, trying to pick up the pieces from the following 2 weeks from the previous week. So it was really nice to have a name for what was going on in my body. PMDD tends to get worse as you get older and as you have more children. So I think that's why it became really apparent at that point in my life after my second child. But it had always been a part of my story. I remember actually when I got the diagnosis, I hadn't told my family yet because I was like, I'm shocked what this is before I share it. And in that little interim time, my mom texted me an article about PMDD. She had no idea that I had been learning about it or had been diagnosed. And she said, I think I may have had this. And maybe you do too. I think I screenshotted it because I was like, this is wild. And that's when I told her. And then we also found out, I opened up with my family about this. And my grandmother, my maternal grandmother, who I'm very close with, said she saw a specialist in the 1960s in New York City for her mental issues, is what she said. So likely she had PMDD as well. So it's been an interesting journey. Like, I just totally nerded out. I was like, what? There are 4 phases of my cycle. How am I 31 and educated and I didn't know? It's ridiculous.
Yep.
And it was so life-changing for me, in particular with PMDD, because I feel things even more intensely. To like be able to plan ahead. And really the big unlock was being able to communicate with my partner and my family. So we could prepare and we know what's going on. But I was finding that there wasn't the tech or an app that worked well for what I was doing. You know, I think I had downloaded Flow way back when, or Clue to track my cycle in the past, but I had never used one like religiously until I got this diagnosis. And so I just didn't find one that I liked because they didn't talk about the different phases. It was hard to plan on them. I didn't really get insight into what was going on in my body until I started talking, in particular, a nutritionist who has PMDD and helps me like kind of navigate what to eat during what part of my cycle to alleviate symptoms. But anyway, so I had like 4 apps downloaded. I was kind of using those, like combining them to support, and then starting to talk with providers outside of just my gynecologist. And then, so I had resigned from teaching. We're in the pandemic. I got this diagnosis. I'm nerding out about menstrual health. And then Roe was overturned in the United States. And I was living in Atlanta in a red state with a trigger law. So for Georgia, it's 6 weeks. So you can't have an abortion after 6 weeks. And I feel passionately that's not healthy for women to have that option taken away from their doctors for themselves. And being adjacent to the tech world, specifically data security, I'm aware that this now means that any period data in a tracker or online and then used against you in a court of law in the case of a suspected abortion, right? Not cool. So not only did I have, 4 apps that I didn't really love that were fitting the bill for my personal journey, but they were no longer safe to use. And we're hearing from security experts everywhere, delete your trackers, delete any history you have of mental health online. So I was like, okay, this is ridiculous. I know a team of expert cryptographers. I know that there's technology to protect this data. And I know there's a better way to like track this data and make it more useful for people. And so that was at that point, I think it was July 2022. That's when we came up with the idea for Embodied. And so that is a long story, but that's where we are. And we've been building it ever since, really working closely with users to get input on what they want to see. We released my co-founder, Zanny, who's in Sao Paulo. She and I met when I was looking for a technical co-founder. And she's actually looking at jobs for a friend, and then stumbled upon this job and was building a period tracker on the side because she didn't like any of the ones out there either. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, it was kind of meant to be. And she and I have been working closely together for the last year and a half. I just think the world of her. She's a brilliant developer. And so we've been building it out since then with help from a designer and growth people, but really it's the 2 of us at this point still. And we shipped the free version of our app in August, and it's available on both iPhone and Android phones. And it's we have almost 100,000 downloads. So that it's been really exciting. I think that there's a real desire for this kind of fresh take on tracking. People are coming to us, switching to us for the privacy, but I think they're staying with us because of the phase-based approach to tracking. So anyway, that's the story, and I'm happy to get more into the weeds with you if you have any questions about the app itself or the PMDD and all of that.
Oh, there's so much here. So now you guys see why I've been so looking forward to this conversation with Anna, because she is the epitome of a true reproductive rebel. Because she is seeing something that isn't working in the current system and she is friggin' doing something about it. And I got goosebumps as I said that, because this is the kind of information that I want this program to share. And so when I met Anna and she was telling me about Embody, I was like, yes, this is what we need. As a practitioner, I advocate for a cycle-based approach in terms of how you plan your life, because you have different mental and energetic gifts in every phase of your cycle. You're an expert planner in certain parts of your cycle. You have a more symmetrical face for headshots for your job at certain parts of your cycle. Like, you have different gifts, and yet we're treated like we have the same hormone cycle as our male counterparts do. They have a steady burst of testosterone over a 24-hour period. They go to bed at night feeling the same way that they do when they wake up in the morning. And that is not the experience for women who are experiencing this up and down hormonal cadence, because each phase of our cycle brings different tools to the table. And I loved what you were saying about PMDD and the fact that it was so evident to you that, like, early luteal phase, you could see something shift, and late luteal phase had a very distinct set of markers about it.
Absolutely.
And people experience this with PMS or premenstrual syndrome, but PMDD, premenstrual dysphoric disorder, is a significantly deeper, more intense set of symptoms. So when people complain about PMS, and I just kind of want to put that in a box for people, because for those that don't have any familiarity with PMDD, it is very disruptive to life. From a Chinese medicine standpoint, there's a stagnation that's happening. So the more stagnant the body becomes, the slower things are moving. And it's kind of like a traffic jam on the interstate, where the more traffic you're trying to, let's say you got a 4-lane highway and 2 of those lanes are closed for construction, and you're trying to funnel this 4-lane highway down into 2 lanes. I mean, talk about the beeping and the horns and usually the hand gestures and the fact that all of a sudden at this bottleneck, things slow down and rage increases. Okay. That's an analogy for what starts to happen, particularly for people who have PMDD. PMS, it might be like a 4-lane highway down to 3. Irritation goes up, frustration level, your fuse is shorter, you're more easy to cry, your worry or anxiety might uptick. But when you're talking about PMDD, you're taking a 4-lane highway down to 2, or maybe even down to 1 lane, where things are still moving, but the congestion and the bottleneck and the intensity of the feelings around trying to get moving through traffic intensifies exponentially. And so being able to see this in how you move through your world, basically, like, I loved what you said about I'm 31 and I'm educated and I didn't know any of this stuff.
Yes.
This is why Reproductive Rebel exists, because people don't know this stuff. And this is a soapbox and a hill and a mountain I'm going to fucking die on.
Totally.
Because I cannot stand the fact that we do such a dismal job with health education collectively. And it's not just in the United States. I'm noticing this in conversations I'm having with people in the UK, with people in Canada. Like, this is a collective Western culture issue where women just don't have the information about how their cycles work. And, we're essentially given the instructions in our health education class, like, don't put the P in the V because you'll get pregnant. Thank you. Have a nice day.
Oh, yeah. That's it.
And it's because we have an abstinence-only culture. But we don't sit these girls down when they start to bleed and go, you're going to feel different every day, and that's okay.
That's normal.
That's normal. Sometimes you're going to be able to take on your lacrosse match or your soccer game and you're going to be the shining star. And then the closer you get to your cycle, your performance is going to change. There was a study done in the UK. They looked at women who played soccer and rugby and noticed that in a certain phase of their cycle, they were 3 times more likely to have ACL tears.
Oh, wow.
Like,
That's fascinating.
right? It
It's so
affects your
physical.
performance.
Yeah, it is so real and so physical. Yeah.
Yeah. So the fact that your app is phasic, like that right there, I'm like, mic drop, everybody. You need to use this app because you can plan your life that way.
Yes.
Like
Yes.
my whole world opened up when I learned how to plan my life in a phasic way.
Right. Because you can play to your strength and then you can make sure that you have what you need when you need that support on
Exactly.
it's huge. It's life changing.
Oh, it's so huge because then it mitigates some of your fatigue because you're not trying to swim upstream against the river.
Yeah.
You are able to see that, oh, this kind of task might be better suited in a week or so instead of that,
Absolutely.
like that to-do list that you try to slog through every day and you're like, ugh, I didn't get all this stuff done and I didn't get enough done and I'm being pushed at work and like all of these kinds of things. What we're finding is that when you learn how to plan your work in a phasic way, like maybe you plan to go to that networking event on this date. Well, if that date coincides with your late follicular phase and ovulation, you're going to do twice as well and you're going to use far less effort than if you're like 3 days before your period and you're like, oh, I don't want to people and stuff today.
Totally. I talk to male investors often. So I feel like part of it is education.
Totally.
And, for example, so next week I'm going to South by Southwest. So excited. But I'm on day 6 of my cycle. So I just finished bleeding. And yesterday I was like, oh my gosh, I do not want to go to South by Southwest. I don't want to talk to anybody. I'm already feeling that shift. I'm in my follicular phase now, and I'm beginning to feel like, oh, yeah, I can people now. And when I'm going to South by Southwest, I'm going to be ovulating. So when I planned that trip, I knew that because I was using my app, honestly, and I track very consistently. I also have a very normal cycle, which is helpful for planning purposes. So yeah, it really does make a difference. And it's not saying you can't be social or I can't go to South by Southwest if I'm in my luteal. What it means is I know how to prepare for it. I know that I can do maybe 3 events in a day as opposed to 1. Right?
Yes.
Because
100%.
if I were luteal and I planned 3 events that day, maybe I'll make it to those, but they're not going to be very successful. But I know if I'm ovulating, it's fine. I can do that. I have energy. I have the social skills at that point. So
it's social skills. That's it. So I plan these podcast episodes around my cycle because think about it. The day or so before you have your period, you can't words and stuff. You're like,
totally.
And that's what it sounds like. Like, I know that's not proper grammar, but that's it right there. It's you're like, wow, I am not articulate today. I can hear what I want to say, but it's not coming out my mouth right.
And if you know where you are in your cycle, you're not saying, oh, what's wrong with me today? You're saying, oh, I'm luteal. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's it. What's wrong with me? Right? We say that to ourselves so much.
Why can't I be consistent?
Yes. And why can't I be consistent? What's wrong with me? And then it starts feeding that I'm not good enough. There's something wrong with me. Right. And we're trapped inside our head with that voice.
Yeah.
So it erodes your confidence. You start thinking that you're less than. And the thing is, women can do all the same shit men can do. They can. I'm very candid, by the way.
I know. I love that. I feel the same way.
But we could do all the same things, but sometimes we just have to be a little more strategic with our planning.
Yeah.
Like, do you want me to do it right now? Well, you're not going to get the best product from me right now, but give me 2 or 3 days and I'd be happy to get that for you.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
I remember when I started playing with this, I wasn't self-employed yet. I was actually working at a W-2 employer, and I was working in the defense industry. So I was working in a
Oh,
predominantly male environment, right?
yeah.
And so I would get these, like, the people that pop over the wall of your cube and be like, "Have you finished this thing yet?" And which is always my favorite. And I would be like, "I'm working on this project right now. I have your thing on my to-do list. I will make sure to have a deliverable to you by this day." And it was helpful because I was giving them concrete deadlines. Like, I
Totally.
will have it to you by this time. But I was in a part of my cycle where tunnel vision was actually a gift.
Yes.
And so I'm like, I can get more done right now if you leave
Yes.
me alone, and then I will give you your product in a couple of days because then I will have done it really well.
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah.
I completely get that. I write the best
Yes.
and I do like strategic planning at different phases. And then I'm social and networking at different phases. There are different strengths of each time. Once you start seeing those patterns and those rhythms, it's the way I talk to male investors, it's biohacking for women
Yes.
to understand your cycle. Just like you wouldn't go work, like lift weights at 3 a.m.
Mhm.
I'm not gonna like give a 1 hour fantastic presentation when I'm on day 25 of my cycle.
Well, and here's the thing,
Right.
like, it's actually to their advantage to know this stuff about
Mhm.
their female employees. It's to their advantage
Oh,
for
it's so helpful.
productivity
Yeah.
and social interaction and all of these kinds of things to actually have their employees use this product
Yeah.
because you then have insight. And one of the things that I love about the interface of their app, so I use Embody and I have had my daughter start using Embody so that her information is protected also. And I do want
Mhm.
to talk about the protections here in a second,
Right.
but I love the fact that, I mean, it's really easy when you look at it, you see the different colors of the different phases. So, like, when you're in the winter of your cycle, the app face is blue, right? So,
Mhm.
even if you don't know and haven't geeked out and done the deep dive in women's health the way that Anna and I have, you can see, oh, I'm in a phase where I'm going to naturally feel like hibernating because that's what
Yes.
I want to do in the winter. Okay, cool. But then there's these little prompts down at the bottom that are like, you're in your inner winter, and this is how you might feel, which is so nice because now
Mhm.
it's normalizing that conversation for people.
Yeah.
And now a break from our conversation for a partnership message. You've been told to hustle, grind, wake up early, and do more. But here's the truth: rest is the most productive thing you can do. And the right kind of rest starts with Sia Silk Sleep Mask, your new sleep sanctuary. I've tried so many sleep masks, and I thought I just had to deal with the discomfort of slipping straps and light still getting through. But then I found this one, and I'm never going back. Made of 100% mulberry silk, it's the only mask that creates total blackout with its comfortable, oversized eye cups that don't smush my lashes while feeling weightless on my face. My sleep, next level. This isn't just a sleep mask, it's an investment in your nervous system. Sia Silk is a women owned small business committed to high quality and sustainable luxury. Check out the show notes for the link to grab yours and rest like you mean it. And now, back to the show. So for me, having a new menstruator in my house, and I have two of them in my house, and one of them, it's the curse of being a practitioner. One wants nothing to do with anything mom knows. And the other one is just like, give me more. So the give
Mhm.
me more is the one that has the app. And I love it because like the color changes and these little prompts give you some insight into what is happening inside of your body. So even if you haven't taken that deep dive and want to know more and are hungry for more, you're still getting insight into this is why I feel the way that I do. So when you go in to track your symptoms, it's easy. Like you can just see from the visuals in the app, which is beautiful, by the way. It's very
Thank
easy to
you.
read and use and interact with. There's lots of places to journal stuff. So there's a journal place. You can track all kinds of different symptoms, emotional and physical and energetic, which is amazing. And it shows you like where in this curve you are. And so like when you're in your follicular phase, it is green. And then in your luteal phase, it's this beautiful autumn color. Yes,
And
like
I'm
that.
showing we have a widget too that like just like it tells you what the temperature is like. You can see what day you're on because that's your inner temperature, right?
I love
And
that. Well, and it's funny because like I'm the weirdo that stands at the counter when I get my eyebrows waxed. So I stand at the counter and I check my period tracker when I
they're
go to
not
make the
luteal, but
appointment. Because if I'm in the luteal phase, my eyebrows get all like bumpy and my face stays red for like days, which
yeah.
is really embarrassing.
And
And my
it hurts more.
it does. It hurts a lot more. And so like I'll come home and my kids will be like, "Oh, mom got her eyebrows done," because they're like fire engine red. And the girl that I go to, she's amazing and she uses the cold hammer and she like puts stuff on it to like try to mitigate this. No, Adrian's skin is just so darn sensitive that during that phase of her cycle, if she gets her eyebrows done, it's like game over.
Yeah. Yeah. It's wild when you start tracking these things and you see. And there's, I want to talk about this more, but right now we're totally free. And whatever you see that's free today is going to stay free. But we are turning on a membership option that's paid. And one of the options is enabling custom symptoms. So you can even say, like, for me, I'm going to be tracking night sweats because
Yes.
that's something that's popping up for me lately. But it could be like skin breakouts or things that are kind of outside of the app, like the typical symptoms. So not saying that skin breakouts isn't, but like a rash or something more unusual.
Clot
But yeah,
sizes would be a
I think
good
it's for
one.
me. What?
Clot size would be a good
Clot
one.
size.
And then I'll send all
Absolutely.
of my clients to you because that's a piece
Yeah.
of data as an Eastern medicine practitioner that tells me a huge story about what's going on inside the body.
That makes
But
so much sense.
night sweats is a good one. Clots is a good one. Things that like we don't always pay attention to, the blood color.
Yeah.
Like I could tell you tons of things about your body. One of my clients calls me
Based
the
on the
period,
color. Yeah.
but like the clot size, the color,
Yeah.
those things. And I loved also that the app for bleeding, it does give you a very heavy option. So like people who have spleen sheet deficiency, I'll give you a like a clinical kind of look at it. People who have spleen sheet deficiency often will have very heavy in the first day.
Oh, what is this deficiency?
Spleen sheet deficiency. So what happens is the energy can't hold and that energy is just tired enough. It goes, ah, and it just
Yeah.
lets down. And there's like no regulatory control, usually in the first day to 2 days. And then it's like, oh, and it picks up the ball and it like kind of starts to pump the brakes and slow things down. Sometimes that also can look like prolonged, like not quite bleeding, but aggressive spotting for several days after it's supposed to finish. So the fact that you have in there this difference between very heavy and heavy, I think as a person who looks at these data points to help people with their
Yeah.
cycles, that is super helpful for me. I
Yeah.
also can tell you from that really heavy out of the gate on day one that you're probably someone who uses your brain a lot, and worry is probably one of the things that comes into your follicular phase in a hard and fast way.
This is me. I was like 0 to 60 with my cycle. So
You're like, wow, I feel really seen right now. But those little pieces, like I love that your app has places to put all of this.
yeah.
Because then for me, as a practitioner, I'm going to say this is where you need to go, not just because of the comprehensive tracking ability of this app, which is gorgeous, and the interface is gorgeous, and it's really easy to use. And I've been using it for a couple of my own cycles now since I met Anna. And I'm really happy with how this captures the energy of being a woman.
Thank you.
Yeah,
We want it to be kind of like a gentle friend guiding you through what you may be experiencing. Everybody's cycle is different, right? And so we get the question a lot, like, what if I don't have a typical cycle? Is this still useful? And I say yes, because you can see kind of what the typical cycle is and see how you vary. And that's more data for you, right?
Yes.
We're never saying you should feel this way. Like, here's how to, hack your menstrual cycle and you get points for like squirt. That is not the vibe. The vibe is, this might be something you experience. Let us know how you are feeling.
Well, and your interface allows for people to give that kind of feedback too, which I thought was really awesome.
Yeah. And another thing we're offering with the paid version is we've been talking to Embodied, what we're calling them Embodied experts. So these are nutritionists, practitioners, naturopathic doctors, fitness instructors, and beyond, who have been contributing content to the apps. We'll have meditation, we'll have mantras, we'll have yoga videos, strength training exercises, and more that people can access that are all faith-based. And so I'm really excited about turning that on. And Adrienne, I want to talk to you about, maybe we can work together in that capacity eventually too. But we're starting to work with people who specialize in perimenopause, people who specialize in PCOS or endometriosis, PMDD, because there are these, fertility or not getting pregnant. Those are the two main reasons that people might tracker at this point. But there are also these largely underserved identities within menstruation that need more support. So what our app is doing is really looking towards those underserved menstruators and trying to build resources.
I love that. I love that because there's so few resources out there like this. And so this actually dovetails really beautifully into the part that I wanted to talk about in terms of information security. So I loved what you said about Roe versus Wade. I had a huge outcry from my own clientele of like, do I keep using this? How can they take my information? What happens if I'm in a safe state, or if my state's, I'm going to use safe in quotes, right? What if that changes? What does this mean for my information? I don't want my daughters you know what I mean? Like, there was just this huge like spin out, and I was part of it. Like, I was horrified that all of a sudden our bodies became not our own and no longer sovereign to make decisions around. That all of a sudden there was this huge legislative component that could dictate how I could care for my body, which that could be a soapbox I could die on. But this app provides security, peace of mind for your personal data in a completely unique way. You tell people a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know we're hearing from a lot of period trackers that they're doing things to make what they're keeping safer. And I'm glad, but there are different levels of safety and privacy. And what we are doing is unique. So specifically, there are 3 ways in which we are maintaining privacy. But overall, how we refer to what we're doing is we are private by default. So you're not having to click an extra button, share your information, and then say, oh, never mind, don't track that. We are by default private. It begins with privacy. And so what that looks like is you don't set up an account. You don't have an account with us. We don't have your email address. We don't have your name. Instead, what you do is you set up, when you download Embody, the information that you input into the app stays on your phone and is locally encrypted on your phone. It does not touch the cloud without your explicit permission. Some people opt into analytics to support so that we can grow, but about 70% choose not to. And that's for good reason. And so private by default, offline first. Okay. And then the second way is that we are encrypted. Right now, we are encrypted locally. So the data on your phone that's stored in your device is encrypted. When we offer our paid version, we're going to be offering encrypted backup. And there are a lot of different ways to encrypt data, and encryption is confusing to begin with. So I'm going to try to break it down, right? So if you want to turn on encrypted backup, that means you can transfer phones, get a new phone, and there is history of your data, right? But what it looks like for us is we will have, as soon as you enter the data, it becomes encrypted and it is stored on the cloud. But instead of us holding the key to decrypt your data, you on your local device, you hold the key to decrypt your data. So the data is truly yours. If we get subpoenaed for somebody's data, that's fine, but we don't have it. We simply don't have the ability to share useful data. And so that's the biggest differentiator. And then another way that we're different, so we're offline first, we're encrypted. And the third way is we're open sourcing soon. And what that means, it seems a little counterintuitive, but we're making the code, the structure of our app available for audit and review. So people can see that we're actually delivering on our privacy promises. You don't just have to blindly trust us. Somebody can come in and see, oh yeah, they really are offline first. Oh yeah, they really are encrypting properly. So those are the 3 tiers: offline first, encrypted, and open source. And
I love that.
Proud of it. It's unique. It's been a challenge, but it's needed. It's a needed tool. And I think people know that. And that's why they're willing to, a lot of people are switching directly from other competitors like Slow, and they have like 6 years of history. And people are loyal to their trackers because of that history. But, 100,000 people have seen that switch is worth it for the privacy piece. It's critical.
It is. It's so needed because like I said, there were so many people going, now what do I do?
Mhm.
And, I got pushback from some of my clients going, no way, man. I am not tracking this on paper and I will lose the book. Like, what am I? No, I'm not doing this. And so,
Totally.
Being able to house all of that data in one place is super helpful. One mobile place with the thing that is always with you, your phone,
Yes.
and know that you have the ability to be a sovereign being and hold your own information and be in charge of your own information and not end up as people's data in lawsuits that
Totally
have happened with some major apps, mind you. I'm going to encourage you guys to go Google that.
Yeah.
There have been some really big lawsuits with some of the larger, like popularized, and I'm using that in quotes,
2019 male-owned company of a major period tracker.
Yeah.
They were sued by the FTC for selling women's menstrual health data to third parties like Facebook and Google.
Yeah. So like when you get all of these targeted ads and stuff, like there's a reason they find you. Like I found it wicked creepy that Facebook knew I was pregnant before I knew I was pregnant. Like,
it's so creepy. It's so
yeah.
creepy. And it's not necessary. And this area has been exploited because menstrual health data is not covered by HIPAA. And it's one of the very odd cases where I think it's health data can be misused in this way.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I didn't know menstrual health data wasn't covered by HIPAA. Oh, that's
right.
awful.
I know. And our technology really speaks to the purpose of HIPAA, and that is truly protecting people's most private, sensitive data. And so we're thankful that we get to be HIPAA compliant and beyond.
Oh, I love that. I could talk to you all day, Anna. We both are very passionate about this topic, and
Mhm.
I am so excited. So, all right, everybody, go to the App Store, download Embody, start playing with it.
Mhm.
It's a really beautiful interface. It is very user friendly. It is very intelligent. You can put the things that you need to put in there. Watch for the membership. It sounds like there's some really beautiful features that are coming with that as well. But this is probably one of the best gifts you can give yourself. And I mean that because knowing what is going on in the inner workings of your body, there is nothing like it, and being able to make empowered, informed choices and be a sovereign being around your personal information is truly power. And as a reproductive rebel, because all of you listen to this program, so there's a small part of you that is a reproductive rebel, like this is the way that we can take control of our lives in a time where there is so much at the governmental level and legislative level that is working to try to take that power away from us. Embody is empowering. And I'm so, so excited to be able to share this with our listeners. I wish you the absolute best as this app takes off and takes over. I know that I'm going to be directing all of my people to it. I use it. My daughter uses it. I have sung your praises to many, many a client already. But if people want to get onto this wave of change in terms of how they are protecting and engaging with their bioinformation, how can they get in touch with you and get a hold of the app?
Sure. So go on the App Store or the Google Play Store and type in Embody Space, and you can find our app easily that way. It's free to download and use. And if you have any questions for me, feel free to email me at anna@embody.space. We're also on TikTok and Instagram at the same handles, but found useful cycle information there too. So yeah, thank you so much for having me. And thank you for the good work you do too, Adrienne. It's important work.
Thank you so much. It was such a pleasure to have you. And until next time, everybody. Thank you for joining me for another episode of Reproductive Rebel. Reproductive Rebel is recorded by certified peri-steam hydrotherapist and acutonics practitioner, herbalist, and Chinese nutritional therapist Adrienne Irizarry of Moon Essence LLC. If you are interested in setting up an appointment for one-on-one support, ordering from our store, or checking out our course offerings, visit our website at moonessence.life. Be sure to subscribe to our newsletter and get insider information on upcoming events and offerings. Join the conversation. Like and follow us at Moon Essence Me on Instagram, Facebook, or LinkedIn. Your voices make this program possible. Thank you all for your continued support.